time. Patience, my brethren.
The Great One is all-seeing. All praise to the Great One. The Great One is all-seeing. All praise to the Great One.
Only puppets, you know, for children.
Yes, and that Sea Devils special, just with me, clips, jokes, the lot, personal memories, that's coming up very soon. So look out for my little personal love letter to the Sea Devils. Good to see you all. It's Tuesday, the 24th of June, 2024. 3 weeks, can you believe it, after season 2 finished? And we are still going strong with news, debate, laughs, with reviews of classics to come, a Who Pet chat show, the Slug Report news, yeah, my Tales from the Time Vault, mini vlogs on classic stories. Oh no, we're still here and happily finding more friends all the time. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us in such numbers in the last few weeks. It's been fantastic to find you all. So thank you to, joining the community. This is our cheekily labelled Children of Time show where things loosen up a little bit. We're dealing with the under 35s after all. Rtd'S chosen troublesome ones. Bringing out the child catcher in me. Keeping them in line is my blooming task tonight. So I suppose I better get them on. I suppose the most troublesome of them all, really. He always is. I just knew there was a problem. Are you Ryan?
Hello. It's 2025.
Aye? What did I say?
You said 2024. I know we were talking about a show about travel, but I didn't know you were actually doing
There's
it.
obviously timey-wimey. Well, I'm calling you all different names tonight, so maybe Grandad,
yes.
maybe Grandad needs a sleep.
But yeah, apart from so I'm 31, Northern Irish. My name is Ryan, and for some reason my hair has decided to do a bit of a Wolverine thing. But apart from that, dude,
When you've still got hair, go for it. We'll go across the pond now. Somewhere in Wisconsin. If I get to America again, I'll see whereabouts he is. Here he is. It's Sonny.
Captain Sonny Waffles, age 25. Where I've been sailing has been flashing between heat and thunderstorm. So I'm down to like my last swig of water.
Ryan, last week, didn't he say he was 26?
Did I say 20? Oh, I mean, I also time traveled. And and I am 26.
Oh,
I love it. Everyone's looking
27. No, I didn't say 26, 25. Who cares what my age is? It's below 35. I'm 27 now.
Somebody's called me pup. No, Sonny's a young pup.
Yeah.
You're all young pups.
They call me the Captain Kid.
And of course, the most good looking of all, and that's why he hides himself. No, here he is. Sean, good to see you.
Evening all. Although I must say, Ryan is giving me kind of like Johnny Bravo vibes. Hey, baby. I can imagine.
You got the hair.
Johnny Bravo.
You know what? That's the thing. The longer my hair gets, the more nicer I am. I'm like Capaldi.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, we'll go flying in. There's a lot to talk about tonight. So get that kettle on, everybody, as you relax with us discussing a fan survey of results on Nuwho 2005 to 2025 and reviewing last week's news. These lads I've not asked their opinion. They're going to do a kind of smorgasbord. They're going to pick the items that have really peeved them, and then we'll get going on that. I'm keeping out of that. So I'm going nowhere. The Hoopets are going nowhere unless I have one for a late supper. I tell you what. Bit too much gristle, I bet, with one of those Hoopets. Welcome to the thread. The Hoopets hate me mentioning the thread for fear I will pull them apart, literally. So, here we go. First item on the, I don't know. Get your cuppa, everybody. I'm reminding you to get a cuppa. I mean,
I actually like that.
You know when your parents or somebody always says, oh, he likes Doctor Who, we'll get him something slightly linked to Doctor Who. Right, okay, yeah, get us a kettle at blooming awkward. But it did remind me, I got this colorized from Clayton Hickman today, The Evil of the Daleks. Colour, oh, You know me, I'm a glutton for colorized 60s stuff. I mean,
That's beautiful.
Very
like the blue.
sexy.
I know. That's all I want. I want a Dalek. I just want a Dalek. Now, you know, it was only a week ago or so. It feels like longer, actually. I was at Utopia at Milton Keynes. Now, I've referenced this shop, but not shown it. So I just wanted to show you. This was the stage for the panels. And they thought it was a nice joke to have the two bills that kind of bookend the Doctor Who whole lifespan. So you've got Bill Hartnell and Billy Piper. I don't know. I don't know. I thought it... Go on.
Was that taken on the bloody royal balcony? What the bloody hell is she wearing? If she was living,
I also thought that was an old lady.
Yeah,
It looked like an old lady from here. I also
Developed
thought that was an old lady.
yeah.
In like
I
a
mean,
sun hat.
yeah, she's a bit Joan Collins to there, a little bit like that. It's a bit, yeah. But anyway, that was the great joke at Utopia, the two bills. It was fascinating, you know, as a survey. Never mind the one I'm doing tonight. Those who got their photograph taken next to the William Hartnell cardboard cutout, and then the ones who did the ones next to Billy Piper. I will say nothing, but it confirmed everything. Those who got the photographs taken with the Billy Piper, I knew.
Oh, dude, can you imagine being in that meeting? Can you imagine being in that meeting? Guess what we'll have, guys? Guess what we'll have? Guess what would be really cool? William Hartnell and Billy Piper, the two bills. Oh, Terrence, you're hilarious.
Classic. And then to order the cardboard cutout. I mean, it's all money, this. And talking about that, John, you've been very generous there. That's a very nice start to our evening. I won't show you a Who Pet as a reward, because I haven't actually done this yet, have I?
Oh, God.
But, no, thank you for that. And, of course, that was not the one I meant. Yeah, we're off and running. They're here. I've got them in place. So that was this Utopia for those who couldn't get there. And I'll say this quickly. That's how you can contact me on the Sensesphere, gmail.com, @Sensesphere on X. And we have a Facebook page, which is growing pretty fast at the moment. Please like and subscribe. It does help. We're growing. It's quite nice to be just seeing all that happening. So thank you for joining us. So we better start entertaining you and start mixing that nostalgia with the news. So, first of all, just before I move on, of all the panels, you know, lads, listening to Matt Irving talk about the models, talk enthusiastically about, you know, making stuff from fairy liquid bottles from Blake 7 onwards. I mean, I'm sure Ryan, you know, this is up your street. Matt Irving just talking about the behind the scenes of Doctor Who and all his gadgets. I remember him from Swap Shop. I loved hearing his enthusiasm.
No, I can completely understand the enthusiasm. Like, technically, we weren't on the actual Doctor Who set, but I can understand the enthusiasm actually getting to make stuff for the show, definitely. And obviously, like, you know, everyone knows who Matt is within the community. Like, so no, I'm glad he's still about. And he's enjoying himself.
Yeah. Oh, he's full of life, great fun, and oh yeah, he's a lively character. Actually, he's good. And the other really good panel was David Troughton, Wendy Padbury, and Fraser Hines. That was a good mix. That, and David Troughton had, I told you, he had a great time asking why Shooty Gatwell left early, asking all those questions, and everyone in the audience going, oh, and then everybody going, well, I don't know really. Maybe, yeah, it was just, he was mischievous. It was great. So anyway, so bit of fun there. And those who can't get there, you know, I just wanted to show you a bit. They had some exhibits from the Doctor Who exhibition over the years. So I just wanted to share that with everybody who has not been able to get there. I've got plenty more I'll show in a little mini video one day. Right. Okay. Won't show that yet. There's no need. So, I know. Let's go over the pond to Sonny. Sonny, You've been watching all my, bless you, you've been watching all my streams really, but basically I've covered a lot of news in the last week. Which one of those items do you really want to have a second dip at, given your opinion? You've got up there Russell Davies' explanation for changing Omega, Disney dumps Doctor Who, colorized 60s Doctor Who on hold, Bob Baker's widow had no idea RTD would treat Omega like that. RTD seemingly either leaving Doctor Who or pausing from the magazine. The rivals pitching to get RTD's job, and Peter Davison thinks Billy's return is mad. Which one do you want to have a go at?
I'm actually leaning towards Disney dumping Doctor Who because it was crazy to me that they even put out a statement at all, but they even said, "I told you so." That made me laugh. They were like, we had data, we had this and that. They didn't even want to hear it. So you know what? Bye. Go partner with somebody else. I was like, that's kind of base.
Right, so go on then. You tell us a bit about what was bothering you about that, and I'll get us in place. There you go. Disney dumping Doctor Who. It was a leak, wasn't it? I mean, it's not confirmed at all, but I went through an awful lot of detail from that leak. So, what was your main taking from that before I ask the other two lads?
The statistics, like they literally had data that they wanted to show RTD, and he either didn't look at it or outright refused it, and the BBC backed them. It told me everything I needed to know about how they treat Doctor Who, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the findings I heard is this: they recommended, Ryan, that Doctor Who should realign a bit like they did with Marvel, that learn from your mistakes, refresh, do it differently. They didn't like the way it was tonally all over the place, Doctor Who. They thought the narrative quality wasn't there. They talked about creative overstretch at the BBC with Doctor Who, maybe doing spin offs and CBBS and all that stuff, and being deaf to audience feedback, which is what Sonny's hinting at there. I don't know if you saw my news on this, Ryan, but what are your thoughts on Disney possibly dumping Doctor Who for these reasons?
Well, the writing was on the wall. I think even just the simple fact of the matter is, and this was always going to be a problem, if you filmed season 1 and 2 back to back, if season horrible and you got feedback about it, you can't course correct from season 2. And that was the problem with season 2. Like, a lot of the same problems that were in season 1 were in season 2. It literally done the exact same thing in the finale that everybody just loved in season 1. So yeah, no, it was all, the writing was on the wall, you know. Like, this is the reason why, if I was ever making a show, I would not be filming multiple seasons back to back unless I knew exactly what I was doing. But yeah, no, like, of course, you just had no action, no time. Like, you can't fix this. You know, it was done.
Yeah,
it was
I
dead
mean,
on arrival, I think is the term.
it was really weird, Sean, when I went through the leak and the information. If it's confirmed, every demographic Doctor Who was failing at, it fell between the cracks. RTD, the reason we do this show is because he says, it's the biggest drama for under 35s is Doctor Who. But I think it's a bit of a kind of small pool he's talking about, because every demographic, 4 to 11-year-olds, no good. Teenagers thought it was too immature. 20-somethings thought it was too immature. The millennials and the Gen Zs just thought it was pap. And it was only the older ones, the ones who get angry about, him making changes, who were still hanging around, and even them were backing out. So, Sean, I don't know if you saw the news, but does it confirm things to you, or do you want to kick back on any of it?
I think, a show that. See, I always, when you're a kid, right? I don't know what the rest of the world's like, but Northern England, I know who has the TV remote, and if you're lucky enough to live with your dad, it's your dad. That's who has the remote. So he decides what goes on, and if he can't stomach to watch Doctor Who, you're not watching it. Like, you're just not watching it. So I always get a bit lost when they talk about these different ages and stuff. But this is the thing. I think Robin Williams said it in Mrs. Doubtfire when he's playing with the dinosaurs, and he said, like, don't. I know it's American, but he said, don't patronize kids. Don't patronize kids. The little people, you've got to educate them. You've got to, and in the old-fashioned meaning of the word educate, inform. in a very balanced way, not like nowadays. And I think Doctor Who's just lost it. It's I don't know who it's for. The people who they think it's for can't stand it and have never watched it. So it's not impressing anybody at all. If you try and soften something up and make it accessible for everybody, you make it accessible for nobody.
Well, let's spice this up in another way, because people, if they've seen my stream on this, will go, "Oh, well, you've mentioned this before. It's nice to get your opinions, but then let's do it a slightly different way. Then you're the under 35s. This was meant to be pitching to you. You can pick any episode you want or any moment you want in the RTD2 era. Where did you think he pitched it well or pitched it wrong, Ryan?
Basically, from the get-go, like the end of that first special, I like, oh, for fuck's sake, we go. And then immediately after the specials, what happens? Space babies, and I'm like, oh, here we go. So no, I'm gonna just say it again. It was dead on a roll. If you're trying to get new fans into Doctor Who, and the first episode of that season is babies, good luck to you.
What do you think, Sonny? I mean, we've got. I'm inviting you, to be fair. You know, I mean, hits and misses regarding. They said there was too much lecturing, too much messaging, but of course, I'm older than you by quite a way, so maybe he was pitching it okay.
He wasn't. All of the messaging was hollow. Everything he pitched was hollow. The closest moment he got was in Lux, when the doctor says in response to racism, "I just shine." That was 5 seconds. So I can only think of 5 seconds of this entire season, which I only jumped on season 2. I skipped season 1 because it's bad. I'm not starting with Space Baby. So I'm starting with the Robot Revolution being pitched to me this whole era, right? And it's still like hollow. If I'm a straight man, I'm the bad guy in that first episode, right? For asking to get married. So it's like none of the messaging is going to hit towards anybody under 35 wanting a stable relationship, you know?
No, and it was, remember, in Britain, it was a double bill. It was The Devil's Card and Space Babies. And in that double bill, I thought the pitching and the tone and everything was so low. And Gary Lee, I'm putting him up because Gary Lee obviously sends me the 5-minute breakdowns, helps me with the ratings and various other things. So please check him out on his Facebook page. And thank you, by the way, Gary. But the other thing is, he's also got a message. Talk about too much messaging. He's got a message. No, sorry. Here's one stat. Less than 100,000 4 to 15-year-olds were watching Overnight by Wish World. I mean, this is... I know some people don't like saying it's a kid's show, but there were eras when people said it was a kid's show. It so patently was pitching all over the shop. If he wanted to get the kids were bored with it or found it too babyish for them, Sean. Names.
Yeah. It was just, I mean, to use Ryan's vernacular, it was fucking dreadful. I mean, the way they started off, the special. I mean, we knew it was going bad because we had hope. We seriously had hope, and then they did the Children in Need special, which was dreadful, absolutely awful. Because I'd heard Murray Gold's music, the new theme tune. I think they did the Proms or something like that. They released that, and it sounded like this amazing mix of the new, like the 2005. Mixed a little bit with McGann's from the movie, mixed, and you thought, oh, this could, oh my god, Doctor Who might be back. Oh, what sweet summer childs we really were. And then you had that Children in Need special, which tonally was all over the place, and on its own wouldn't have been that bad because you always took them as a bit silly, like Time Crash, and you didn't really have to count them if you didn't want to. So it was a bit daft, but then when they had Davros, like, oh, okay, so this is Davros before his accident or the missile or whatever, because I have actually seen that. I've actually seen that new the classic episode, so I knew what they were on about. I thought, okay, and then when we saw that behind the scenes, because again, I didn't watch the Unleashed apart from that one time, and he was like, oh well, we've got a problem with disability, and I just thought, and I've ranted about that in previous streams. Go back and find it for anyone, but it was that moment was just like, oh dear God. Like, oh dear God! Like, we just want. No, go on, mate. Yeah, go on.
No, I know. It's just to get the back and forth going on with you all. To me, I know the Davros thing irritated me, and yeah, I've said it many times. But there were little moments, like I think the moment when, oh my God, I realised that we've got this new Doctor for ages, and it started with this bogey monster, and we had an episode where they were filling their nappies basically, and I thought, oh no. And every gadget was to help them press buttons. And I thought, oh no, this is like for 3-year-olds. This is really, oh, it's like, scraping on a chalkboard. That moment to me got me. What moments really made you think, oh my God, Doctor Who's in trouble?
Dot and double.
I felt
like I think it's something like that sort of tone. You would have got away with something like that in 2005 or 2006, as far as the tone goes. It was 20. What was that? 2023? No, TV has moved on in 20 years. People want, when I'm ridiculous.
Tell you which one it was for me. It was the Beatles one, and the singing and the dancing and that bit at the end where they were dancing. That bit for me, yeah, exactly. We've all erased it from memory, haven't we? That bit for me was where I literally thought, oh my God, Doctor Who was at. I mean, never mind, jump the shaft, jump the bloody Milky Way. I thought, my God, like you just knew, because that reminds you of it's like when you do a shit school play, and the teacher knows, no offense, Brendan, that you've got nothing behind you, like the acting shit, the writing shit, crap. There's nothing there. So all of a sudden you're just like, right, throw glitter bombs, throw dances, throw a crocodile, throw the Beatles, you just throw so much shit that you try and distract everyone from like the substance. And it was absolutely, it was pathetic. And then you just thought, this show is finished.
No, the issue is as well, though, like, the show was already kind of in tubes as it was. Like, and a lot of people would disagree with that. It just was. So shut up. It just was. RTD needed to come in, firing on all cylinders, and make something. He could have even made something half decent, and it maybe it wouldn't have been enough. But instead, he decided to make the worst possible thing he could think of. It was great. Like the era that came previously, no matter who took over the show, needed to come in and make proper Doctor Who the way it should be. And Davis just didn't do it. But imagine anyone of the general public seeing that double bill of Space Babies and the Devil's Cord. Like, the general public would have been like, what the fuck is this?
And then
and that would have been it. They just would have switched up.
And then the Eurovision, when you get no points, and so everybody's peed off with everything in the world. Now, Michael Nemo, I've got a few super chats, so I've got to say thank you and be polite. Michael Nemo, you get the chance here. Having Disney give tips on successful streaming shows is like Trump teaching classes on humility. You can say that, you've just given me some money. Did you know I'm Brendan Noble, former teacher? Yes, we know who you are.
Hello.
Doctor, man's cloning you. Typical sense sphere. There you go. Typical sense sphere. So, thank you very much, Michael Nemo. I did see one other, and I do want to make sure I don't miss people out, otherwise it's rude. So, also, thank you, Paul Ashworth. I wonder if Paul McCartney has seen the Devil's Board. Would love to have seen his expressions. My expressions on the Devil's Cord was all to do with, I thought it was like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon thing, because to drag people by musical notes, to then hide them in a drum. Was the Doctor suddenly in, was it the drum and she went into the cello or something? This was crap. I couldn't believe it. And then, oh, by the way, I mean, this is where Doctor Who got us. Going across the Pelican Crossing at Abbey Road, and then every colour was a musical note, and then the last note being the TARDIS door. I was trying to hold it together, but when they, at the very end, walked across that road and danced, and it was musical, and then this is just beyond.
It's beyond parody. So that was parody.
Oh, that was killer. That was killer. So you've got us going,
Can
you
we talk
swine,
about?
Sonny.
Can we get it? Can we get off RTD2 now? Can we do good Nuwho?
Well,
I'm sick of talking about this
that's
shit,
what
to
I
be
mean.
honest.
Well, Sean telling me off. I don't know how this works. I was just about to actually do that. Part of the survey. Here we go. The easy one is, of course, they were asking the people in the survey. There's about 900 people. Have you watched any classic Who? No, 20%. Now, remember, there's been lots of surveys. Some people just don't look, but that's not the one I'm interested in. I'm interested in the really kind of testy ones to get our panelists and the thread telling me what they really think of this New Who era. The survey's on New Who, but there will be one or two questions where you can bring in the oldies, so to speak, including me. Now, for example, this one. So if I went down the panel, who was actually your first Doctor? Who was the Doctor you first saw on TV? Ryan?
Technically, it was Tom Baker, but actually, whenever I full on got into the show, I mean, fully, it would have been Eccleston.
Okay. I'll just get everybody's initial one, and then we'll have a quick talk. Sonny?
Christopher Eccleston, first watch.
That's interesting. And Sean?
Yeah, Eccleston.
Isn't that funny? I mean, obviously mine is well, I say obviously because I'm older, is John Pertwee. So there's the first one. Who was your first Doctor? And you see there, you've just correlated with that. 47% joined Doctor Who when it was Chris Eccleston. And then the next biggest is actually, David Tennant. Those early years, lads, is where New Who and Doctor Who really got turbocharged, isn't it? It really did then. And we cannot, and we cannot deny Chris Eccleston. It might have been 1 year, but my God, how many of you joined then? What was it about that era that made you go, oh, I love this?
Because it basically hit on running. Like, no offense to shoot that one, but Eccleston was able to do 13 episodes of what Jodie Whittaker and Capaldi couldn't do in actual other seasons. So that's my take. Because you got a good bloody actor in the role who knew what they were doing.
Yeah. So there's mine, John Pertwee, just so everybody knows. I think my first ever one was Day of the Daleks. Do you know which stories it was that you'd start? Was it Rose or was it a bit later?
I started at Rose.
It was Rose.
I started in order. It was a generational thing. It was a jumping on point. Everybody was watching Doctor Who, and this is after 2005 for me when I started watching because I did it in high school. Like everybody was watching Doctor Who. It just got put on Netflix, up till Matt Smith. So we all just started at the beginning and we just piled through, and it was a good story from the beginning. It felt connected to, and you felt like you were being rewarded for watching.
And so if I just checked in with Sean as well. Sean, you said Eccleston too. Number one, was it Rose? What was it that grabbed you about the program and also the Doctor? Because if you don't like the lead or the lead character, you clear off. John Pertwee, I was away with it, and he was like my granddad in a funny sort of way. And then obviously Tom Baker, I was spoilt. So what's your thoughts, Sean?
I mean, I watched it. I think I've got the tape somewhere. My dad recorded it because I think he was on nights on the back shift, so he recorded it. We watched it, and he didn't like old Doctor Who, very much Star Trek, but didn't like old Doctor Who. Never really watched it. I'd never seen it before, so it was like a new show to me. So watching it for the first time, when the TARDIS first appeared, I remember that because it had this funky, the music, but I didn't really know what it was because it was, and it's difficult to overstate how much for me it was a perfect jumping on point. I know that's really easy to say, and I know some older fans aren't massive, they don't love that era. But for me, and also it was and again, this will split the chat. I think the Doctor, Eccleston was brilliant. I'd seen him in a few things when I was younger, and I kind of knew of him. and you watched it, and you're just captured by who this person was, and because they put it through the eyes of Rose, who was unlike most of the companions that we've had, who were more middle class. She was very much working class, and that drew you
Yeah.
in. It felt like a very, I mean, God, yeah, I was gonna say that it's different talking 20 years later, like, but it's very different. It felt different even then to have a family on the BBC that were very working class. Because BBC have like stepped on some, but BBC's always been on middle class. So it was nice to see that. Like it felt like a real family. Like I know her dad had passed away before, but it felt like a real. So she was a perfect gateway into learning about the Doctor, and it just worked. And I remember the adverts for it being on and people. It didn't go kind of. I think it was Tennant who very much made it go stratospheric, particularly like towards like the end of series 2, I think. And I remember, and I know the ratings bear it out, but those Christmas specials, maybe not the first one, but those Christmas specials after that really were like the whole family sat around the TV to watch it. It became a staple. I do think Eccleston set it up on a really, really firm setting, and I remember being absolutely good. I went to Blackpool, I think just after the series had ended or as it was still going, because they had the exhibition there, and it was awesome. I absolutely loved it, and I was gutted when they said he was leaving.
So that's our starting off point with everybody. I just want to make sure, because there's a lot of questions and a lot of things to get through. Michael Nemo, thank you very much. I knew Doctor Who was over when 13. I just got up off the floor after the fallout of the TARDIS, as if nothing happened. Yeah, I know. I don't know. There's little moments that make you so depressed when you think of what happened in Doctor Who. But so, I showed you the old Doctors just for a second. So, next one, I'm just doing a couple of these and we get back to a news item. So, Ryan, okay, New Who this is, by the way, New Who. This is what the survey did. So, out of New Who, you and the thread, who is your favourite Doctor and why?
If I was picking New Who, it would be Eccleston.
Right, and if you had to only name one, and why?
Oh.
Okay, I know it's a tricky one.
That's like after my right ball, you know what I mean? It's like...
So,
I need both.
Go on, Sonny.
I like what's his name? Colin Baker. Honestly, and I'm starting to like him more than Peter Capaldi. Not necessarily because of, well, maybe just because of his character. They're almost tied, but I think it's because of the Big Finish stories I've been listening to. Like Colin Baker, his acting and the audio dramas are just almost peak. And I love his erratic character. I think it encapsulates the time, and it just shows, like, I don't know, he's just so inspiring to me. I just love his character. And Peter Capaldi does the same thing, but in a more even more traditional way. Like he reminds me of the first and the second and the third, you know. But like Colin Baker actually reminds me, like that's what I think of a forward thinking, like alien New Who Doctor would really be like, you know.
If we're talking about classic Who, obviously Dur and Pertwee are my two favourites.
Yeah, I know. So, Sean, your favourite Doctor? New Who?
Eccleston.
Oh,
Ninth
right.
Doctor, I think.
Gosh, there was a massive delay then. Timmy... okay.
You could have put a fucking bus through that gap.
I know.
I can't fucking win. All right, I can't win.
Right, this era can be summed up in one word: abomination. We reject it. RTD, for God's sake, just go. Please, just go. So, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I really do. And New Who Capaldi, says Jamie Tron. Got a few people. Matt Smith for me says Woodhouse 122. I know it's a hard one, isn't it? And I must admit, when you say New Who, it does get a bit limiting because it's not my era. But you can see here, for example, the one who won was Matt Smith. Matt Smith by, again, quite a margin.
So why does everybody, or why does the BBC act like it's David Tennant who's everybody's
sorry.
favorite?
Brendan's got it wrong. I said the 12th Doctor. The 12th Doctor's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10th Doctor's David Tennant, and it's Matt Smith. It's Capaldi. I apologise. Gosh, what am I doing tonight? There's something wrong with my brain tonight. So, yeah. The Capaldi thing is interesting, actually. And go on, Ryan, because obviously you wanted to say Capaldi, really, didn't you?
Well, yeah, I actually wasn't expecting that, to be quite honest. Like, obviously, I was expecting Tennant because we're constantly rammed down our throats that, Tennant is the ultimate Doctor of New Who.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm kind of happy to see that. Actually, you know what? I'm very happy. Not that I like David Tennant, but you know, he has time. We don't need to bring him back like fucking a million times. You know what I mean? I know what that has watered his version of the Doctor down. We haven't seen Matt Smith since. We miss him. We haven't seen Capaldi since. We miss him.
Yeah.
We don't miss David Tennant. We've seen enough of him.
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? Capaldi winning that one by quite a way, and I think everybody laments him having to go earlier than he wanted. I think a lot of people realise that if there were any stories that weren't brilliant in his era, it's nothing to do with him. He was acting his socks off. Equally, I thought Matt Smith. I think, yeah, there's some questions later about who's most overrated, underrated, and all the rest of it. I think Matt Smith acted his socks off too. And I actually think, although there were rumours, weren't there, that the BBC were worried sick, can we follow David Tennant? Well, yes, you can.
No, I would say Matt Smith's a better Doctor than Tennant at this point, because I think you really see some real proper character with Matt Smith. To be fair, you do with 10 as well, but unfortunately, looking back now, his character of the Doctor is very vain, which isn't really a good quality. And by the end of his run, like, he does turn into he is a bit of a psychopath, really.
It's interesting.
Which can be fun,
it's interesting, Ryan, because in the survey they do ask you who's the most arrogant Doctor, so there'll be some interesting ones coming up. I'll ask you, Sonny, who's your least favourite New Who Doctor?
Least favorite New Who, Jodie Whittaker. She's boring. Yeah, she's just so boring. Had any authority to me, or even like was fun. She was okay in her first story. The Ghost Monument kind of had me okay again, and I was bored. By Arachnids in the UK, I was like, she can regenerate now. Okay, like that was just so bad to me. At least the Gatwa stories, there's some funny stories in there, even though they're not funny for the right reasons. But I don't really like looking at Gatwa, so I don't want to say Gatwa. It's Jodie.
So, Sean, on your least favourite New Who Doctor?
Gatwa all day long. Horrific Doctor. Horrific. I mean, Whittaker, miscast, should have never been a woman, in my opinion. And she just they gave her nothing to work with. Whether she's a good Doctor or not, she wasn't given the writing to have a chance, but she was also dreadful and obnoxious. Right. But yeah, Gatwa's Doctor is just horrific. There's not one single moment where he was the Doctor. And you just think, just get off the screen. Like, you are awful.
The most undoctor-like. Ryan, your least favourite?
Gatwa. Like, you know what? As much as I completely agree with Sean, like, Jodie was completely miscast. You know, just horrible writing. But you know what? I will say one thing. She done her best impression of David Tennant, which is more Doctor-like than what Jodie Gatwa done. So there you go.
Yep. And on the survey, let me get my numbers right this time. The 13th is the least favourite of those. And of course, that happens to be Jodie. You can see the David Tennant second one comes second there. And the War Doctor third. I mean, I thought the War Doctor was an interesting idea as far as they took it, and of course, John Hurt certainly helped that. But anyway, so there you go on that survey of Nuwho so far. So we need to get double dips again, lads. So I asked Sonny last time on the news, so I'll ask you, Ryan, this time. From the news items that I presented last week, which one would you like to have a second dip at and share your opinion on?
Quite frankly, none of them. I have to pick one. Rivals to RTD make pitches.
Okay, then. So what's got you going about that?
Well, I want to make a pitch. Just purely because I think it was the only thing on that list that I actually haven't really spoken about or really heard much about, so that's why I picked it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, basically, you've got a lot of different leaks going on. One of the leaks was, and I'll do a fast version because people who've watched me every day know this, so I'm just going to remind you. So the threads, if they've heard it, will just know that apparently there is another global streamer, and according to the source, the new partner is pushing for greater creative control following the underwhelming outcome of the Disney deal. And they believe the show needs to take itself more seriously and shift its focus towards older teenagers. And then if I show you this as well, however, RTD is said to strongly believe that the show's fun, campy tone, the approach taken during the 2005 revival, is key to its success. So you've picked on that one. So I'll give you first dibs at it, Ryan.
Well, that's the thing, though. I think he's completely wrong there. Why is he living in the past? Now, don't get me wrong, what he done in 2005 worked, but just because it worked the first time, you need to try to do something different. You can't come around 20 years later and go, oh yeah, we'll just do this again. Because like, even if you look at classic Doctor, if you'd done a 60s Doctor Who episode or season in the 80s, would it have worked? Probably not. You know, it just, you need to move with the times, and Russell T Davies seems to just be stuck in this in the past. As far as the new streamer, I believe Amazon. I have heard for months now that Amazon have been poking their head around certain doors and they're wanting to butt in, so to speak. They've got James Bond now. Apparently they have their eyes on Doctor Who. Obviously, between Bond and Doctor Who, they're two massive British IPs. So they've got Bond, they also now want Doctor Who. That's where I think this is going.
Okay, just before I move on to anyone else, I mean, we're going to get the to and fro going if we can, but Ryan, on this one, I know you're saying it's possibly Amazon, that's the rumor, etc. But what do you make of? Because if I was the second stream after what happened to Disney, I would want more creative control. But I cannot recognize this element where RTD strongly believes that Doctor Who should be fun and campy in tone. It never, ever was. Those are the worst bits of 2005. I'm sorry, but the burping bin in Rose.
Yeah, I have to agree. I do. I think if you're gonna walk into it now, you need to strip everything down to bare bones of what Doctor Who. To strip it completely back. Go with a more mature, darker tone, more like a sort of, Hinchcliffe era .2. Yeah, if I was going to try and replicate an era for 2025, it would be the Philip Hinchcliffe era, because that's what I think would work now.
Yeah, you see,
but yeah, you're totally right. The sort of from sort of his first era doesn't work. It really hasn't aged well. If you're trying to do that now in 2025, it's not going to last.
This is the thing, Sonny, that I think Chris Eccleston, you've all said that was his, what got you, and a very serious working class doctor. But then it was successful because of Chris Eccleston. I don't think it was successful because we had burping bins and we had farting Slovene. I don't. I think he just covered for that. I don't know what you think, Sonny.
I think it's pure delusion because he didn't even do that with current era he was given. He didn't make it. It was the 2005 rival was gritty. It had a logical through line narrative. None of that was here in Get Her Home. They had to add all of Belinda's character arc in the last 20 minutes of the season. And this was the only season, Gatwa seasons were the only seasons where Doctor Who didn't average half of its like base audience, which is about 8 million. All of the first seasons gets 8 million. Jodie got 8 million. This couldn't average 4 million people. So like he can't even admit where he's wrong. And he's clearly, so it's actual delusion.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing Doctor Who did do really well from that first series in 2005 was it kind of realizes bits need to go, like the bins, the Slitheen. It had a little bit more of a Sarah Jane Adventures feel, that first series, but it wasn't all the time. And I think because a lot of the people like us who watched it at the time will have been like 12, 13, whatever, you could kind of get away with it a lot more. And I think Tennant coming in probably helped with that change. But sorry, mate, go on. You're right.
I was going to say, like, the thing about that first season, and I always say this to anybody that was ever wanting to watch it, and I was trying to recommend it, I was like, stick with it until episode 6, because the second half of season 1 is completely different to the first half of season 1. Yeah. Like, you know, it really feels like two completely different shows from halfway, like from Dalek onwards, apart from the episode that comes after Dalek. Every other episode in that series, in my opinion, is Bad Wolf. I really like. Boomtown. I really like Boomtown. Yeah, I think it's fun. But yeah, to be fair, like I do remember at the time, even like whenever I was 13, I was like people slagging off the farting aliens and stuff like that. But weirdly enough, as a 13-year-old, I kind of liked the Slitheen. Like the bit whenever they're chasing through the Parliament, that bit sort of creeped me out a bit. And I was like, I liked right, okay, and the zip and stuff.
This is what I mean with Doctor Who under RTD. Just because it was overall a hit doesn't mean that everything RTD did was correct and has been given a rubber stamp by us lot. I actually think the Slitheen is an idea, and of course the whole idea of them. I mean, he's done. It's almost like cosplay again, but anyway, yeah. All that was fine, and they killed people. I'm all for the killing people. So basically, all that Slitheen element there, I was happy with. Great effects in various parts were blown up 10 Downing Street. It was just that he attached a fart into it because he thought that's for the little kiddies. He had the burping bin for the little kiddies. And as you said quite rightly, Ryan, I think you're spot on. In that 13-episode season, it just improved. And about halfway with the Second World War onwards, it got really gritty and it took itself seriously. And it seemed to really find its... I mean, you know, by the end, the Dalek is killing that lady and you could almost guess what it was saying. Exactly. Yeah. All that stuff was
do you want to know why, though? Do you want to know why? Or at least to give you a very good hint? Because I've got the first series script. Now, I'm pretty sure when Ryan said about the first half, I thought, oh, that rings a bell. Now, I'll be as quick as I can. Rose, written by Russell T Davies. End of the World, written by Russell T Davies. The Unquiet Dead, written by Mark Gatiss. Aliens of London, RTD. World War III, RTD. Dalek, Robert Shearman, awesome episode. The Long Game, RTD. Father's Day, Paul Cornell, one of my favourites of the series. I love Father's Day. The Empty Child, Moffat. The Dr. Dances, Moffat. Boomtown, RTD. Bad Wolf, RTD. Partner of the Ways, RTD. So you can argue, looking back, the best episodes are the ones that aren't his. Certainly Moffat's. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. That's not me looking back and retroactively pissing on those episodes because I think that series is arguably as a whole one of the best of the new era. And I know that's okay, but that's just what I think. Maybe series 4, that was a banger.
Well, yeah, because we're talking all about all of Nuwho here in a way, aren't we? You can jump anywhere, and I know we stuck an Eccleston for a reason. I know Michael Nemo. Thank you very much. Said I could handle the Slitheen over the adipose, and of course there we go. you went for the cutesy. Why does RTD have an obsession with starting Doctor Who seasons light and frothy? I mean, just grab the audience. He assumes you're going to hang around Space Babies, the Adipose. There's loads of them where it seems to be light comedy. I'm going, what are you doing, man? Can we get to the grit? And he has this idea that Doctor Who should be a mixture of stories and fun and campy. And I think he's got it all wrong. He's got brilliant actors and he balls it up all the time.
But I think that is a bit of a running thing.
It can have camp.
Oh, go on ahead.
Go on.
Sorry,
otherwise, we're going to have long gaps.
Someone, yeah, go on, Ryan. Sorry, mate, go on.
I was just going to say, like, it does seem to be a running theme with him. Like, don't get me wrong, he has written some great stuff. But, he's written some really great first parters and then lets down the second. But I'd still say probably his best is probably the Parting of the Ways 2-parter. I don't think he ever done anything better than that. But let's think about it. Like, there was a reason why Moffat was put in charge to take over from him with Matt Smith. Because he was the best writer under Russell T Davies. He just was. That's the thing. It's just what it is.
I will say
so just
the most.
Oh, go on ahead.
The most boring part of Classic Who is 100% the camp stuff. Like, whenever I take a break on an episode of Classic Who, it's because they're getting too camp or it's just getting boring. Like, that's usually where the boredom comes in. None of that applies to the story. Like, I'm usually watching Doctor Who for the intense storylines, like the lore making me think, you know? None of that's there in the camp.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've got an unexpected fight here. The show has skewed too young since sometime in Matt Smith's run. It is an interesting one. This garbage. Remember Matt Smith's second episode, Capaldi's first episode? They were dark, angry doctors. Yeah, the second one with Matt Smith was in the Beast Below, wasn't it? And which I need to have another check of. Actually, garbage. The first Capaldi one, Deep Breath. Yeah, Sean, you wanted to come in. Wait, gosh, it's a very slow one. That, gosh, that's really slow. Gosh,
when I think Matt Smith, I do think of Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. Like, that's my go-to Matt Smith episode. I love that episode. I loved it, dude. When I watched it, I remember rewatching it once and twice and over and over. This episode's so fun. There's dinosaurs on a spaceship.
What? Oh, Ryan, help me out here. Is it me?
No, what?
I remember that.
This is the great thing about the show, though. There's certain ones that, like, I'll be honest, like, I detest that episode. Like, that was whenever I checked out for a little while. I was like, no. But you know what? Even looking back on that now, you know it's bad whenever even that feels like more like a Doctor Who episode what's getting pumped out these days.
Doctor Who, yep.
Yeah, well, so I'm just reminding people of there's your Beast Below, 8.42 million. You'd take that now. Garbage. Beast Below is one of my favorites. A brilliant on a rewatch. Well, we might do that. Me and Jamie might just have a look. We haven't watched that for a long time. Sean, you wanted to come in?
Don't know what about. Yeah, good series. Really good series. Loved The Lodger. Really liked that episode. I watched it recently. Really good.
Right. Okay. So we were talking obviously about. Let's have a look. You're all confusing me tonight because the time lags are bloody awful tonight. So we were talking about the rival.
Bollocks to the chat. They can wait.
Hold on. So we've got the rivals that Ryan was asking about. Obviously, Straczynski. What was funny about this one is I've mentioned this before, but he keeps tweeting. And of course, it's kind of saying, I'm still here. I'm still looking for work. I'm still somebody who likes sci-fi. I do like Doctor Who. And he's like being a little mischief. And while RTD's like a wounded animal, trying to hold on to Doctor Who as a concept and hold on to it as the control of the program. there's all these other people surrounding this. I've got the leaks, and maybe Stephen Moffat's got ideas. But Ryan, I mean, I've not watched Babylon 5. Would you take a punt? He's 70 odd now. Would you take a punt on him?
I've never seen Babylon 5, unfortunately. I know some of the guys have. I've never seen it. To be fair, maybe I think somebody younger. Probably somebody younger. Like I even think RTD is a bit long in the tooth now to be trying to write for the demographic the right for. I think someone younger would do a better job and is a little bit more in the real world.
Yeah. I know. I actually, I'm falling into the idea, Sonny, that I think we need somebody who hasn't done it. When I say somebody who hasn't done it before, somebody who's going to take risks. Verity Lambert was new to it, took risks. It's kind of that. You want somebody who's willing to risk their career on Doctor Who, rather than somebody who's saying, I've done this all before. I kind of want that different angle. You might get something fresh.
You want somebody willing to do something new or transform the program to push it into the next stage, you know. And he has the tool set, we should say, right, to build a successful sci-fi show. So he might have an idea of that next stage. I would be down. I only heard good things about Babylon 5 too.
Yeah, I would put Babylon 5 ahead of Star Trek in terms of sci-fi, says Farsight, Divine and Dragon. I did love Babylon 5, but I don't prefer someone as old as him. Need someone younger. We need somebody who pushes the show forward, I would suggest.
See, the thing, well, and I think this is also a sort of factor as well, if we look through the history of the show. The first RTD era worked. Now, if Russell would have done what he's currently doing now, where he's very much, I'm the main guy, I'm doing all... No, back then he had a team of people around him, he had good writers around him, he had no people around, you know? It's sort of a bit like G&T done it, because he very much took on that role of, oh no, this is my show, do things my way. I think if you're going to have Doctor Who back to being on top again, I think you just need not just one person. You need obviously the figurehead, but you need a good team around to actually make the show work.
Well, Jess is saying to us here, I appreciate you, Jess. You've got experience. Future Doctor Who needs someone who can act as oversight and will be acceptable to those who are interested in long-term in taking Doctor Who forward. And obviously JM is more than capable. Oversight, yeah, you're not writing the scripts, but just oversight on that one. Okay then, let's just kind of duck and dive a little bit. Okay, my next question to you lads, sorry about that, is just to scare you. Which Doctor would you say, and we can really play at this really, but which Doctor is the most angry to you in New Who? And is that a good trait or not to have? Everybody's thinking, so I'll speak first. I've got the results somewhere.
Can't jump in.
Come on, the time lag is killing me tonight. Come on. All right, okay, I will keep talking then. Gosh, honestly, I think, Sean, you might have to duck out and come back in again because it's so slow. That which Doctor is the most angry? So, Eccleston, let's be honest, I would say came across as that war-torn one. Anger with the Dalek, I suppose in the Dalek episode, they absolutely lost it there. Of course, now, I can't help but think Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor was anger management on steroids. That was crazy what he was like. And so in the end, although Eccleston did it, and the Ninth Doctor is, war-torn in that way, the Ncuti Gatwa Doctor, in the end, is the most angry to me in a bad way. In a really bad way, not a role model way. Anger management, gone wrong, torturing people, sadism. That's me.
I would say
Eccleston actually controls for the most part.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he only had the incident with the Dalek, really. Like, that was tortured. Yeah.
Yeah. So on this one, gosh, trying to get all this going. The ninth one. Chris Eccleston was seen by everybody in the survey, 38%, as the most angry, and that was followed by the Matt Smith Doctor. And there you go. That's a scene, I think, that is conventionally an angry Doctor. You know, it's the Daleks. It's after the Time War. You know, you've taken on the Time Lords.
It was
thing,
part
like,
of his
let's see,
story.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was actually part of his story, which helped. You know.
Yeah.
I thought the second one was almost Gatwa. The Gatwa had a bigger percentage than I thought he was gonna have, so it told me the base audience saw that too. But Matt Smith, it's because when he gets angry, it's so rare, it stands out. I would call Tennant more angry because he did the whole Time Lord Victorious thing. Like that was a whole arc for him.
He did do that, didn't he? It's interesting. I mean, this survey is only for New Who, so it's interesting. A Monk of Magnesia to say Hartnell was the crankiest. Of course, if you want to include all of Who, and you know, it's all the same Who-niverse, so to speak. But yeah, I know, I understand that. But I think the worst one, I will repeat, is the Shooty Gatwa one for sadism. Let's test out Sean's time lag here. Sean, we're talking about who's the angriest Doctor in New Who.
Can't be any angrier than me with this bloody internet. Yeah, I think of New Who, it's Tennant. I think for how irrationally angry he gets with the Time Lord Victorious and the Waters of Mars.
Yeah.
And I think he gets pretty nuts. I think Eccleston.
I wouldn't say that Tennant's actually angry. I'd say Tennant's a bit more psychotic, like just straight up angry. Like Eccleston, we see a man suffering with PTSD, and sometimes that comes in the form of anger. With Tennant, it's more hidden. And whenever he does lose control, he loses control more than just anger. I genuinely believe that Tennant's Doctor is actually mentally unhinged in a lot of ways.
Well,
I agree with Sonny. Smith does lose it. It stands out. And again, it's always for a very good reason. If he's angry, usually if Matt Smith's ever getting angry, he's always on the right side of things.
Yeah.
But as Sonny said, it stands out because Matt Smith's a fucking brilliant actor.
Yeah.
I do love the Time Lord Victorious stuff. They could have done so much more of that, and they didn't. But
well, can I just
sort of cranky. Well, Capaldi's just cranky.
Well, you mentioned the PTSD thing, which is interesting. First of all, I'll show manners again. Thank you, Michael Nemo. You think the angriest Doctor is the fugitive Doctor? Oh God, does she exist? Anyway, thank you very much. The Who Pets are grateful for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's them sorted. But you were mentioning the PTSD, and it's one of the questions which I was quite intrigued by, Ryan. Which Doctor portrays PTSD the best? So for this one, I was thinking, what? And they said the ninth Doctor. Yeah, they said the ninth Doctor, Sonny. Does that make sense?
He just came off the Time War, and that was the whole little through line for his season, like all the Time War. And I was really only watching to know what happened during the Time War, and I didn't care how many doctors it took to figure it out.
Yeah, I know it was good because he had those little moments in that one season he had when you could see him lamenting, looking a little bit kind of troubled, and that's never been repeated. Although I will say that the PTSD question, which obviously the survey was trying to do various things, it asked about ADHD, it asked about autism. I started to think, which doctor's the most autistic? And they said Matt Smith's doctor, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going, hold on a minute. What is this? Anyway, PTSD. We had PTSD apparently in the script of Lucky Day with Millie Gibson. And I'm thinking, no, don't cheapen PTSD. No doctor has shown PTSD in the way that is true. You can see he's troubled by the war, but troubled as in having nightmares, you can't work, you can't leave your house. Yeah. I hate it when Doctor Who in its messaging suddenly starts to go ridiculously serious and yet it doesn't portray it. It just labels it. That's one thing I cannot stand or abide. But I think we're all saying that Chris Eccleston's was more of that kind of PTSD battle Riri one. Okay then. Obviously, while Sean and the time lag is working okay, I'll ask him to take a dip on one of the news items that's left. Sean.
That pause was me actually thinking. I don't know. I mean, just purely for the joy it gives me. I'll go Rtd'S pause or goodbye to Doctor Who. I hope it is. Having read that little bit snippet of article, because I'd never buy the bloody thing. Yeah, good riddance to bad rubbish.
Yes, so that was the Doctor Who magazine that not many people buy anymore, and it was his utterances in that, wasn't it? He first of all says, "Don't worry, there's still good news coming, blah blah blah, but we won't be doing this page for a while." Well, obviously there's nothing to produce, so yeah, I understand that. But it was the next bit that people read into, whether you want to or not. When he said, "It's been an absolute joy, and I'd like to thank Doctor Who Monthly."
Not
It's
for
been a
us, mate.
delight.
Not for us.
So, you just got that impression you're going, that sounds as though you're leaving. I understand the pause, but if you're having a pause, why? I love you so much, and I hope you can cope with me for 2 months, and I'll see you soon. I I think this is him putting a marker on the page just in case the BBC do turn left and actually don't have him back after his Channel 4 tiptoe stint. I think he... I don't know,
Brendan.
lads. Am I reading this too much?
You'd have heard this at the match, Brendan. I'm dying to just start singing. You've had your day out now off home. I'm dying to sing that because you've had your time off your pop. See you later. Don't get your massively oversized big head stuck in the doorway as you go. But out you go. We're not bothered. See you later. Piss off. Ta-ra.
The
See you later,
damning
pet.
thing. The damning thing is like, why is he signing it like it's a goodbye, but like you can't do these little monthlies, like a little article about, I don't know, a script or like an update about what's happening around the show, like simple things, or even what's coming up soon. He couldn't even keep up with this Doctor Who monthly, like to add, and then you sign it as a goodbye. That's weird. That's an admission of defeat almost. So it would be interesting to see someone different than RTD, but RTD has all these scripts. I want to see them. I need to see season 3 and 4 and 7.
I look. Am I really on this, Ryan? I mean, why would you bother filling in airspace here by just saying, I've enjoyed working with the magazine. It's been an absolute joy. Da di da di da. When you've just made the argument that, well, at the moment there's no Doctor Who being made, so there's not much I can say as the producer. Something tells me he knows he's definitely at Channel 4 at the moment, making Tiptoe, and he can only do one production job at a time. Stephen Moffat managed to try and do Sherlock and Doctor Who. RTD doesn't have the logistical toolbox to do that. He's off at Channel 4 at the moment. Nothing's happening with Doctor Who apart from some marketing of the Sea Devil spin-off a bit later. So basically, that's me for now. He knows the BBC are having serious chats behind the scenes, tumbleweed at the moment. And I think he's starting to get nervous that actually he may not be a guarantee for coming back. So therefore, he does this little polite thing. Ryan?
I think he's now trying to distance himself from everything Doctor Who, simply because, and a lot of people do forget about this, he done this column in a magazine whenever he wasn't even show running, you know what I mean? Like, he was doing this column for years and years and years and years, and he's picking now to stay from it. Interesting. I think he is in the process now trying to distance himself, or he's been basically told in private, sorry, you're not going to be coming back, and he's basically went, you know what, man, I'm out of here, bye.
Yeah. And as you've ably all said, he's had his go as well, and I'm not slagging off his era. I preferred his first era a bit more, well, a lot more actually. But it's gone now, and And I think they need to make that decision. Now, Grant G, not because you're saying I look sexy today, honestly, you need your specs, but you want the puppets. Here they come. Here's some sense for your fans. Oh, he's big. Hey, watch it, son. I can box you. Watch it, watch it, watch it. Oh, God, he's scary, isn't he? Oh. Is that a Carvanista? Flux, do me a favour. There you go, just for you, Grant G. I shouldn't be embarrassed by those because I think I'm pitching it just above Space Babies. Just a bit above. So, on the news items, gosh, the one I found was his kind of explanation for Omega and saying he can do what the hell he bloody well wants nowadays. Basically, when he explained all this, I thought I would create a Time Lord nobody had ever heard of before. Well, it's been done in the Armageddon Factor. It's been done in various iterations of Doctor Who. Why couldn't you have been bothered to do that? No, he decided, do you know what? In the end, every time I thought of a Time Lord coming back, I thought of Omega, so I thought I might as well bring Omega back. And then, of course, he explains that because Omega's not been on the telly since the 1980s, I can basically do what the hell I want because there's been a time war. Next. And lads, I can't stand about RTD, this idea that just with one brushstroke, I'll change everything. That's not how it works in sci-fi. That's not how fans operate when they've invested all this time and energy into something. You can't just say, with one brushstroke, Davros now has legs. With one brushstroke, Omega is now some Skeletor from the Mummy Extra DVD pack. No. So this Omega explanation just made things worse, Sonny.
He exposed himself as a liar and a hack. He admitted that he uses the Time War as a catch-all. Right? The Time War is his catch-all to do whatever he wants, but he's also a liar because what was the pitch for the new season 2 or for the whole era? I'm gonna bring new monsters, new adventures. Well, I had this idea for a new Time War. I'm just gonna use Omega. What? So you're a liar. You could have, if we would have respected you if you made a new Time Lord and just introduced a new Time Lord. Would have been like, okay, it's its own thing. We're in this era, whatever. But you decided to step on the past. That's why we don't like you right now.
Tanner Gibbs here. We brought the Ron showrunner back. Guess the debate is settled. Moffat for the win. To be really sure, maybe we could bring Moffat back actually just to see him for fun. Can't make things worse. Tanner Gibbs, have you seen my show that just the other day when they all blur together for me when it was a leak, maybe a mischievous leak, that maybe Moffat has an idea to bring an anthology series back where you have a Davison one episode and it's all the old Doctors. Although I
don't bring him back. I love a lot of Moffat stuff, but bringing him back is not what this show right now.
People forget about the Moffat era. People forget he was writing that alongside Sherlock. They're like the BBC's biggest shows worldwide at that point. And Doctor Who got, not as much as it is now, but it got strung out. And I'm sorry, and I know, we're comparing it with what we've just watched over the last couple of years, but that Moffat era is far, far from perfect. A few series towards the end were very forgettable. Yeah. I think we forget. I think he suffered from trying to run 2 shows at once, and I think it really did show.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to go. I mean, when will we learn? It's like trying to go back to an old Football Manager because they got you promoted one time. It doesn't work. Like, don't look back. Don't look back at the past. Look forward. Build it with somebody new. Build it forward. We don't want to make the same mistake again. RTD couldn't save it. Moffat won't bloody save it. I'll tell you that for now. Because he lost people back then by getting too convoluted. So, yeah, very careful I would be.
Yeah, I found this. I mean, I explained the widow of Bob Baker just said she didn't think the BBC were going to do what they did to Omega. And you just think, God, it's so disrespectful. I mean, it's her husband's creation with Dave Martin from the 3 Doctors. And for this writer to go, do you know what? I can't be bothered to invent one of my own. So what I'll do is I'll just graft onto my script Omega, done by somebody else who sadly both of them aren't here anymore. And in the meantime, I'll completely change what they are. And I've decided that's allowed. It's just utter disrespect.
It is, and he says the time war for it. That's the crazy part to me. He justifies it by just saying time war.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a clever wheeze once, but you can't say every week. Oh well, my time war's an excuse. Time war, time war. Time war. I mean, quickies here. Which Doctor is the most brave in Nuwho? And I rack my brain while you are at the moment on bravery. Supposed to be a sci-fi hero. Uses brain. Less is brawn. I mean, come on. Capaldi. Well, he had a brilliant climax, didn't he, with the Cybermen?
Steady on.
I would say brave as because I would look at it from like their death's point of view, because Paldi didn't want to accept his death. He just wanted to die. He didn't want to accept the regeneration to die. Tennant also done everything in his part. Like, he held back the regeneration. He wasn't brave. Eccleston just went, yeah, that's fine. I've got Time Lords have this little trick. Skyway cheat death. I'll just regenerate. Bang. Matt Smith, he stayed on Trenzalore for hundreds of years protecting people, and then regenerate. Like, he obviously blew up the Daleks, and then I would say either Eccleston or Smith, just because they basically took in their stride.
Oh, do you know what I'm going to say?
About that death as well, Ryan.
Can I? Right, go on. Go on. You say that's thin face, Sean. Go on.
It's all right. Go on, mate. All right. It's okay.
It is the most unfluent stream I've ever done this. I was going to say, I'm not being mischievous. I'm being truthful. Surely the bravest Doctor, already, is the 15th Doctor, because he bravely forced a death on himself for that little girl. Sorry, I said that with a straight face.
I thought you were going to say he lived with. Thought you were going to say because he lived with Belinda. He cohabited with Belinda, the man of metal.
That's tough too.
Also,
turn over that every morning.
The fan fiction Doctors.
Right,
Right,
so we've got this lovely thing tonight, which is we have a long silence, and then we have three people talking at the same time. Bliss, absolute streamer's bliss. This was a strange one on the survey then, which was the bravest, and of course the 9th one comes across the most according to the survey, followed by the 12th Doctor, which would be the Capaldi one, maybe the Cybermen at the end, particularly fighting to the last bit. But the 9th Doctor, I suppose, I mean, the bravery there. I think the dramatic moment in Bad Wolf's cliffhanger, I remember at work, these middle-aged women at work going wild about this heroic kind of, Rose, I'm coming to get you. And I suppose that had an element of bravery. I've got no plan. I haven't a clue what I'm doing, but doesn't that scare you? And there was I think that was a classic bravery element to it, I thought. Don't know what you thought.
I think there's a bias of that's just what people have watched. Most people have watched the Eccleston stuff, and that's the story they're more familiar with. There's a little bias there. I think the War Doctor was pretty brave becoming a warrior, especially after Night of the Doctor and having to push the button then. I think that was pretty brave, doing what he needed to do.
Oh, totally agree, but unfortunately to see any of it,
we saw enough of it.
Like that. And yet again, is that more, that would be more McGann, because it's him that makes him I need to be a warrior now.
Well, he dies, doesn't he? He doesn't leave his companion. He won't leave her, and he dies in that crash, which I thought was like I thought that little mini episode was awesome. But I love Eccleston for me in that first series, when he epitomized the Doctor for me, when the Reaper gets into the church and he screams at everybody get behind me, and he pushes Peter behind him. So he sacrifices himself for people he doesn't even know. And that's what the Doctor should do. Shouldn't run off. Shouldn't say they're socially awkward. Shouldn't put a skirt on to fight the end of the world. This is This is not what
Well,
the doctor. That's what the doctor
I'm
should
being,
be.
I will continue being sarcastic then, I suppose. Shooty Gatwa being the bravest one because he basically euthanized for a little girl. And the other thing is he wore dresses and dared wear out these outrageous outfits. What a brave doctor he was. He was so forward
Brendan,
thinking.
we're not counting RTD fan fiction.
Yeah.
It's brave to put RTD fan fiction on the television for everybody to watch.
No, actually, you know what? But going back to Eccleston again, what that I love whenever him and Rose are sitting and they're wiring up the Delta Wave, and he just says to Rose, he's like, "You know what else the TARDIS could do? We could leave.
Yeah.
We could Marbella in 1989 and let Hiss take its course." And and that's it's just things like that. He wouldn't go. He just says, but you'd never. It was like, yeah, but you can, just things like that. I was like, no, what? He could just bugger off, and no, he just doesn't.
This one, you get this question, then you get the opposite, so you can be kind of being prepared. So when I'm thinking of this, which Nuwho Doctor is most overrated? And I have to say, he's on a hide into nothing because David Tennant was the most popular, so to speak. But obviously he's come back, and he's come back. And although the last time he came back, it was apparently as a different Doctor, I actually think you start to see a bit like you said earlier about, Jodie Whittaker did an impersonation of him, really, that it's this talking fast, this manicness. And there were elements where I'm thinking he wasn't as good as he thinks he is. So I would actually be about to say the 10th Doctor is the most overrated. So what would you think, lads?
Definitely
Capaldi.
David Tennant.
Sorry.
Capaldi.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I've got to say it.
Don't listen to him.
Shooty, terrible. Whittaker, terrible. Smith's amazing. Tennant, overrated. Eccleston's, it's Capaldi. I'm sorry. But I'm sorry.
Go ahead and give a reason. Give a good reason, Sean. No, I want you to give a good reason first, Sean, before I destroy your argument. Go ahead.
You're getting shot.
Pass the blindfold, Brendan. Delays and now this. No, I'm sorry. I think people look back. Oh, this is. I'm just being honest. If we forget the last few years, right, forget 2017 onwards, right? If we look back at that first little era, his era was not the best, and I think he struggled to, or maybe it was the writing behind him. But I think apart from a couple of episodes where he was stunning, overall I found him a very boring is a harsh word, but I didn't find it very engaging. And I'm not apologizing for my opinion. I'm sorry that it'll annoy people, but I can only be honest.
Fuck up.
Maybe.
Anyway.
No, I completely agree. His stories were not, like it was, as far as the writing goes, it was a very weak era. But Doctor is French Kiss. It's perfect.
Exactly. Anyway, he's wrong about that. The most overrated Doctor is obviously Jodie Whittaker, even at the time and today, because you'll find shills who'll say, well, Jodie's Doctor's cool. Jodie Doctor's fun and quirky. Like, that's not true at all. Like, you'll hear people hyping up Jodie's Doctor still to this day. There's a camp of people who like that Doctor who's just, I don't know. The show's probably still for them, to be honest with you.
Right, so there's your results for the most overrated one, and he wins by a mile, the 10th Doctor. He is on a hide into nothing because he was seen as the most popular, and I suppose on repeat, people start to go, hold on a minute. So, just a quickie though, lads, where would you go with the most underrated? Because this is, if you take the opposite, you could go, well, suppose Jodie Whittaker has been slated, so actually when I look, sometimes she looks as though she's standing and talking. To me, which Doctor is the most underrated? You see, I think in some ways Chris Eccleston's been kind of slighted and dismissed and slightly ignored because of that one season. And yet, because of him, he made it a success. He launched Doctor Who properly. He made it serious. He made it gritty. He made it modern. And so for that, and I didn't like his gurning. I don't think he did humour very well, but as a doctor, I thought he was so well established, and I think he's therefore still underrated, you know. What would you say, lads? I'll put the results up while you're talking.
War Doctor.
I didn't answer.
Maybe. That's a fair.
War Doctor. Like John Hurt as the Doc. Like that. Like we lived in a generation where we seen that on a fucking TV, or what? John Hurt is the Doctor. Fuck yeah! And what the guy? God, like as obviously he sadly passed away, but the more Big Finish box sets that he done. Fucking hell! Some of the best Doctor Who. I love John Hurt to pieces, but yes, I will completely agree with you, Brendan. I think. Once upon a time, people would have skipped 9 and went straight to Tennant. I don't necessarily think that is the case anymore. And I think probably now more than ever, 9 has more fans now more than what he ever has.
Yeah, yeah. I'll shoot us through. Do you think?
I think he's the most underrated. I don't think he's now, but I think. Oh, I keep forgetting. Just ignore the last 2 we've had. I think Smith's massively underrated because I think he came after Tennant and everyone loved Tennant, and then Smith came and Doctor Who started to like wobble a little towards the end of that one. It was getting a bit strung out. So I think he was underrated when he was here.
I would disagree purely for the reason being it was his era that got Doctor Who massive in America.
Yeah, that's the era we all jumped on.
If you consider that a good thing,
we're talking about. It is a good thing. You want numbers today, man. You can't average 4 million. I think, but as we're talking about underrated today, Capaldi. We had a bunch of slander for Capaldi just 2 minutes ago, and during his time, you were saying the stories weren't that good. All of his stories are so great.
Oh, get it? No, you're kidding yourself.
Right, hold on. He's so fun. It's like, the 10th season fell off, but like all of the seasons fall off by the end. Okay, even the 10th season was fun because you had the Cyberman stuff by the end. Like Capaldi is still underrated right now. You're spitting on his legacy, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so, but you forget. You forget though, like you look at. Sorry, Brennan. You forget like we're judging Capaldi by the last couple, like because of how truly horrific Gatwa and Whittaker have been. You look back at Capaldi and he looks personally that not him, but that era as a whole looks a lot better than I feel it was personally.
That's me. Disagree. I always liked Capaldi. Like I genuinely remember whenever he was cast, because I remember watching that live broadcast thing, the shitty one that's done on the BBC, and I wish I would have put a bet on because I had watched the thick of it, and obviously he popped up in Torchwood and stuff, and I knew he was a Doctor Who fan. I was like, we had David Tennant, we had Smith, who were younger doctors. I was like, Peter Capaldi would be a good doctor, and he walks out, and I jumped off my sofa. I was like, oh my god, this is fucking dream casting for me. Yes, I will agree that there is a few of the stories. I don't think the writing is great. Like, but he is such a brilliant actor, and he's born to play that role.
Right.
Like, he's one of the actual best actors that we've ever had in that role. I really do think it. Even if he smiles, and I'm like, I can see Tom Baker in you. Like I can see a lot of Pertwee, I can see a lot of Tom in him, I can see a lot of just him in him. I really think he just took that role, made it his own. I think he is phenomenal, and everyone should go and watch Capaldi's era, especially season 10. because season 10 is fucking brilliant.
Right, I'll butt in here. I feel as though I hold on. Gosh, I'm not getting a chance to speak there. So, Michael Nemo, I'm trying to be the one who shows manners. Thank you, Michael Nemo. You've been there. Whittaker and Gatwa underrated by writing because it was so crap. Now,
They can't act.
which Doctor's regeneration made you most emotional or upset? Now, I know which one I will say. It's the Matt Smith one. However, I'm going to go again a different way because another regeneration in New Who that really upset me was the one we've just had because of the very appearance at the end. Hello. That upset me. So emotionally, I loved the Matt Smith speech, but I was upset at the 15th Doctor just disappearing and joy to the world and all that nonsense. And then suddenly, hated that. And now they're all
For me,
brave again.
against Capaldi.
Go on, Ryan.
No, for me against Capaldi, like I just purely because I really, really didn't want him to go, and yeah, I was whenever he left, and then even more sadder whenever he regenerated in the year. I was like, "Fuck, here we go." For me, that's where my Doctor. I know this is my Doctor. For me, that's where the show. I think it is. You can easily just end it with one final stand with the Doctor and the Cybermen. And that's it. He wins. He dies. That's it. You could end the show there. But I was quite sad whenever Capaldi was going. I do remember though being quite emotional though whenever Tennant was regenerated purely because of how they set everything up. It was a deal.
They hyped it up for
it was a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I'm not sure if I wanted his final lap of honor. I quite liked the moment with him and Bernard Cribbins. I quite liked his last line. I mean, for once he didn't have a speech, I don't want to go. They've ruined that by making it a joke now. Whereas he acted it really well. I know he did loads of takes, didn't he? I don't want to go. And actually, I thought, there's some people on the planet who will die and they die too early. And I think it's a line that resonates. Not everybody's ready. Not everybody feels like they've lived. And I thought that was an interesting take on this sci-fi character. But I did love the Matt Smith speech equally. But you can see everybody's troubled on this one. The 10th, the 11th, and 12th are within only 6 votes of each other on that one. And so, it's a moot point about where you would stand on this one. Some great regeneration sequences, as there should be. But then, lads, I'm so disappointed by the Ncuti Gatwa ending. Not because of the Billy Piper thing. It was so unnecessary. It wasn't a Caves of Androzani. It wasn't a Planet of the Spiders. It wasn't an end of time when, 4 knocks and there's little Bernard Cribbins there. It was none of them. It was. I just thought it was just so unnecessary. And RTD is supposed to be a really good writer who, yes, finds out his lead actors suddenly disappearing, but couldn't manufacture a better ending. I mean, put him up some gantry and have him fall like Tom Baker. It's easy.
Am I the only one who thinks that Gatwa has been sacked because they want to blame him? I genuinely think whether he wanted to go or not, it was half and half. But I do think he's been kicked, or at least he's jumped before he could be kicked. Because, look, the way they really, really badly retroactively crammed in his death, where he just decides to die, even though he doesn't need to. It's just stupid. It really did feel just totally unnecessary. At least, although to be fair, I will say it's not the worst regeneration. Do you know which the worst regeneration is? It's the bi-generation. The way that the 14th Doctor's been here 5 minutes, and then he just gets shot straight into the chest with a big laser gun. It felt pathetic, and you were like, "Oh, that's it, is it? All right, fine."
Yeah, I'm not counting any of that fan fiction shite.
It's fan fiction,
Farsight, the 10th Doctor's regeneration really annoyed me. You've just got Mickey here saying, for example, I was thinking this. I remember watching going, please don't become a woman. Please don't become a woman. Please don't become a woman. Oh, it's Billy. Yeah. A couple of other questions, lads. I'll just throw out there. There's good old Jenna Coleman. Which Doctor's series of Doctor Who, of New Who, have you watched the most? So I'll give you time to think while I'll just think, talk out loud while you have a think about this. So we're going back to 2005 through to now. Which Doctor Who series have you watched the most of? And I think it's easy for me. I'm older than you all, and I think New Who is a funny one for me. So therefore, I know my answer has to be Chris Eccleston's first series because I watched it again and again and again. Maybe challenged by series 4 of David Tennant when we finished with Stolen Earth and Journey's End. There were some good ones there, Planet of the Ood and all the rest of it, and the Fires of Pompeii. There were a few land in there as well. So I'm just thinking out loud to give you time. I think to be honest, it's the drama of them and some of those early ones. Series 1 and Series 4, I would say, are the ones I seem to enjoy watching the most. If it's an episode, it's Stolen Earth every time. Stolen Earth is just so space opera and exciting. Trouble is, he didn't land it, did he? So, Ryan, what are you thinking of a whole series, a box set of New Who?
Out of New Who, because I do tend to watch more classic Who than what I would do, but I would probably be on the same page as you. Actually, to be fair, I probably would be on the same because I do love the Stolen Earth, but as you say, it's great up until the last 10 minutes, and then it just falls off fucking rails.
Yeah.
Season 1, I like, especially the second half of season 1. I watch it over and over again. There's a few standout episodes of Capaldi's I could watch over and over again. I would revisit Day of the Doctor all the time. I'll revisit, but I do find it gets worse every time I watch it. There's a few good ones in season 5. Just sort of a bit of a pick and mix, really.
Yeah.
But I would say overall, probably I keep coming back to sort of season 3, season 4, and season 1.
Yeah. Sonny?
Season 8, Capaldi, 100%. That's the only season I actually own. Like, I could pull up and watch today. Mummy on the Orient Express, peak. But season 9, I believe, probably has more episodes that I just like the Zygon inversion.
The lake is
And
amazing.
Heaven Sent, beautiful. Heaven Sent, I think, is there, and there was something else.
Yeah, I've got them up for you there.
Yeah,
it was
the invasion and inversion, both of them. Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah, isn't it funny how we're all different, aren't we? Because we had Davros at the beginning, and I was interested in what they were going to do with Davros, and then when I saw what they did with Davros, and he had his eye, he opened his eye, didn't he? And then he messed on with regeneration energy. I thought, oh God, I agree with you on the Zygon invasion and inversion. That especially the speech, of course, and Heaven Sent and Face the Raven. Proper.
I think Under the Lake's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot I need to watch again, but that's not a consistent series for me to watch. That's all.
That's why I don't own it, because there was a bunch of episodes where it's like, I guess I just didn't care for it. But even the Husbands of River song was a fun little special with a nice ending to it. So like, season 9 I thought was a good season. This was the season with the trilogy with the pyramids too, right? Wasn't that the season
10?
Is it?
That's season 10.
That's season 10. I think I appreciate that trilogy from season 10 then as well. Flatline was pretty good.
Yeah, you've got that one, and then there's the pyramid at the end of the world, the Live the Land, right. and yeah, there's your trilogy.
I like that.
Yeah, it jumped around a bit. Sean, you want to come in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, series 1 or series 4, but my favorite episodes would be from series 2. I love the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. That's my favorite 2-parter. Yeah. And I think overall, I think the music's just exquisite. But I also, probably my favorite episode ever of New Who is probably Turn Left. Absolutely love that. But I will agree with Sonny. And again, I do need to go back to Capaldi's era, and I will. Mummy on the Orient Express is a brilliant. That's almost a perfect episode, to be fair. So I'd forgotten about that one. But I also do dip into series 6 because I absolutely loved. I know I poke fun at America. I always do on my podcast as well. I absolutely love that opening to Series 6. I love The Impossible Astronaut. I love Day of the Moon. I think, personally, if you want to break America, that's how you do it. Like that scene where the doctor is like on the edge of the lake and he says to them, whatever happens next, you do not interfere. And then he gets like killed in the middle of his regeneration cycle, which was like, oh my God. And then he turns up in the restaurant with his fizzy straw. That is just perfect. That's how you balance like silliness. So I've watched those 2 episodes so many times, and yet the rest of the series, I don't know. I'm a bit weird, but yeah, they're great. Love those.
I think it's funny, Sean, because like this season feels so forced to me. But I remember liking Let's Kill Hitler, which is another one of those funny Matt Smith episodes, like dinosaurs on a spaceship. Like those are the episodes I enjoyed.
Yeah,
They had great
I
characters,
can.
didn't they, Sonny? They had
I can
great
feel
characters,
myself
didn't they? Like the.
Yeah,
No, I got it.
Go on. I'll go this time. The Curse of the Black Spot. Oh, so lame, that one. Closing time. I struggled. You can see you up and down like a yo-yo with some of these. That's the thing.
The Rebel Flesh. I love that 2-parter.
Did you? The skin.
Yeah.
That was the skin effect, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
See, the thing is, though, like I don't think we ever make any quims that there is a lot of actual shit episodes in Doctor Who, but they're not all shit. There is some of the absolute best TV you will ever see is in some of these seasons, but you can't get that out of a season of Doctor Who. It's just constant shit.
The thing is, though, for example, the thing is,
you rode with it, didn't
okay,
you? You rode with the bad and with the good.
Okay, I will speak now because I can see how this is working. Cold War as an example. The Ice Warriors, great to see them back, but they reinvented them. This is the problem. I thought the Cold War had some great ideas. You were, submarine, all that sort of stuff. But all the nonsense about, the Ice Warriors are so different to what they were before. I've tried to dismiss half of it. What's this obsession with Nuwho writers who just can't allow a respectful kind of revisitation of an old villain or monster? They have to totally change them. And yet they wouldn't, I was about to say they wouldn't do that with the Daleks, but my God, they've hammered the Daleks to death with hybrids and everything. They've messed with the Cybermen, the Cyber Shade and all the rest of it. So Cold War is an example to me where I'm thinking, oh, yes, right, okay, you didn't quite do what I wanted. Yeah, it's a funny old thing, is Doctor Who. I think sometimes just don't dig into the past. Just keep moving forward if you can. So, of course, in the survey, which series was the most watched? And most people were talking about, they were picking on the 10th Doctor's era. That was a bit of a cheat. Yeah. That was the question they got, but they just didn't answer it in the same way as we did. Now, I will jump to just one or two more, some interesting ones, and whatever. Yeah. I want to get to the companions one because this is an interesting one, because in the end, the make or break for a Doctor tends to be who they're with to a degree, and whether they all get on and all that sort of stuff. So I know I'm flicking through here like there's nobody's business. So let's have a look. Right, there we go. This was the question. So I'll be very interested I won't list them all, but we start with Rose. We go through with Martha, various people. We've got the Ponds. Okay then. So Ryan, which Doctor had the best dynamic? It's an interesting question. With their companions, which one was the most interesting?
Even I'm just looking from a sort of technical standpoint, not necessarily my favorite, but I'd probably say the best dynamic and Nuwho probably would have been the Pawns.
Yeah. You okay with? I mean, I'll just ask you. I mean, I like the Pons as a character. I mean, Amy Pons amazing for lots of reasons, but um, did you find sometimes that we got very domestic? You know, the marriage and then they've got a baby and
Well, the thing is, like even up until that point was very domestic anyway. Like never was brought back in 2005, but it's been very domestic. Don't you dare make this place domestic. But yeah, it's a very domestic show these days. Well, at least it was up until that point with all of the family drama and whatnot. So I think it was anything. It wasn't anything we hadn't already seen up until that point. I would say other standards, which has been, I did love Tennant and Donna together.
yeah, yeah.
I did love. Unfortunately, that's kind of been slightly tainted now, but at the time, I loved them two together. I thought that was a perfect duo.
So just as I come to Sunny, we've got people saying best character arc is Donna. I mean, the first iteration, I thought that ending was shocking, really, what he had to do to his best friend. Matt Smith and the Pons, Matthew Burrows agrees with you. Farsight, the 11th, had the best dynamic. Michael Hallett agrees it was the Pons. Mickey, it's the Pons. So I'm building to come to you, Sunny.
Of course. I'll set the record straight. His best dynamic with his companion was with Clara. Okay, it started with his relationship with Matt Smith, but going into his regeneration, he was finally able to be himself. He was able to like let go and actually just be himself. One of the first things he told Clara after he regenerated and they went through the adventure in Deep Breath, he told her, "I'm not your boyfriend." Right? And she's like, "Well, I never thought you would," but like with all these companions, with Amy, right? Amy tried to kiss him, with Donna. There's always this will they, won't they type of thing. The Doctor was never about that. That's why he always regenerated young, starting with the fourth Doctor, because he was appealing to the companions a little bit. He's appealing to the audience. He's really old, right? So he's like, I can finally look myself. When he regenerated into Capaldi, that was him being his authentic, true self, a comfortable Doctor. And that showed when he's like, "Oh, Clara, that's my carer. She cares, so I don't have to. I'm going out doing all the adventure and stuff, and I got Clara here to deal with the relationships and stuff." So like their dynamic was perfect. That's why Capaldi was able to act and do what he needed to do, because he had a solid companion, and they were great together. It's Clara.
Okay, Sean, you've had great thinking time here. So where would you go?
I think I agree. I mean, Sonny's clearly lost his mind with Clara. But I think, Ryan's 11th with Pond and Rory, Media Pond, I think. But I did quite like, to be fair, a little bit back to what Sonny said, to give you credit, to be fair. A little bit what I saw with like Rose and the Ninth Doctor. I don't feel like because of the age gap, they never, like, it felt more like friends. And I like their dynamic. I think it tipped over when obviously Tennant came in, because it just did. But I've much preferred Rose with the Doctor. Like, I know they made a few jokes like that's a hell of an age gap and stuff, but I did like that. So it's a toss up for me. But I mean, and of course, you've got Bernard Cribbins as well. I know he was only a companion for a short time, but I did like that dynamic because it felt like two old men, which is what the Doctor is.
Yeah.
That made sense.
Yeah, two war veterans. Tanner Gibbs. I think the most interesting dynamic was Clara, because it changed. I like Martha and Donna's relationship. I used to like Rose's, but it became too romantic. Well, let's take a look at what people said. So the dynamic that they thought worked the best was the 12th Doctor. Now, the 12th Doctor is Capaldi, isn't it? And that takes us to, well, which ones were they talking about? Is it Nardole? Is it Bill Potts? Is it Clara? Because it's
the Missy.
Yeah, I know. Missy stayed with them for a while. I know this one was a hodgepodge to me, this dynamic, because I couldn't work out Nardole. I couldn't work out what he was really trying to do with Missy. Did he really, really, really think he could rehabilitate the Master? The Bill Potts.
You gotta try. and she's safer next to him than roaming the galaxy or in a cell somewhere. Like she's safer next to him because he can keep his eye on her.
Well, to
I
be
did love
fair though,
that.
it did work. Only he never got to see it.
Yeah. Even the Bill Potts thing. I mean, the Bill Potts thing. It's just I wasn't too happy with the climax to that because she did die. She became a Cyberman, but then they had to do that silly. He's a tear from the tear lady, and we'll go into Hocus Pocus land, and I can revive you. And that, well, rather than Clara, imagine Clara died, and then he kind of found her again in some sort of vending machine TARDIS. I mean, what the hell? Can we not kill people off like Adric?
Well, that was the joke with Moffat, wasn't it? That nobody truly died. I mean, you've skipped Rory. How many times did although I did love,
Yeah.
the Roman who waited. I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it became like a running joke,
Rory
didn't it?
saved it for him.
Oh yeah. Rory's class, and I love Rory's dad as well. He's great.
So we've got. I know it's interesting on dynamics. It seemed easier in classic Who. People will say it was the Tegan, Nyssa, Adric time. Some people say it was Sarah Jane Smith and Harry. People will say it's the original crew, Ian, Barbara, and Susan. People seem to have it more defined. In this era, I don't know if it is my age, but I think, oh my God, Rose, yes, but no. Martha, yeah, but misused, and then of course no, because it's unrequited love, and what a waste of her. Donna, yes, but now look what you've done to her. It's really messy, I find.
It's like a yo-yo.
Yeah, and I think that's the inconsistency of our famous writers. Of course, that's the snag with them. Go on then. You were mentioning this a while back. I think David Tennant's Doctor was mentioned. Which Doctor is the most arrogant? Again, I'll do a little bit of talking to give you thinking time, but the Doctor arrogant isn't a good trait. I know the Doctor all the way through since the beginning has always kind of, I know this or I don't. But Nuwho has gone to a kind of greater elevation on this one. There were certain moments in the David Tennant era, Voyage of the Damned, which Garbage was saying is one of his favourite ones, and I agree with him, that and Turn Left, etc. But that moment when they start to turn the David Tennant Doctor, he starts walking towards the camera with explosions behind him, and it's that's the sort of person I am, and I don't know. That's not the Doctor to me. That's kind of him saying I kind of love myself. And I know they were trying to make him either sexy or this or that, but that to me went off Doctor. So I'm talking to give you time, and I think my conclusion, I don't know if I've missed something, although I can't stand the bloody, it's not arrogance quite, but the diva Doctor Shooty Gatwa, Honey Babes, and I Love Myself, and Aren't I Beautiful? However, David Tennant's 10th Doctor, I will say Ryan.
I would agree with you. 10th Doctor, definitely the most ignorant and the most vain. Just how he comes across sometimes. You're like, man, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah.
Let somebody else speak. But yeah, he's just a bit of a prat sometimes.
Doesn't it kind of get arrogant, showy off when he talks fast? I almost think that's the David Tennant trait as well, which is I'll do these lines very fast, and I'm thinking, I know you can do Hamlet. Stop it. There's an element where he just splurges the lines out, and it's kind of showing off acting, and so
it's almost overacting.
And that's what Gatwa inherited from Tennant. That's the arrogance Gatwa inherited from Tennant, but that's the bad parts. I think this started in Tennant, but the most arrogant is actually Capaldi, and it helped his character because he took that arrogance from Tennant, the Time Lord Victoria stuff. He's like, well, I can change the future, I can do whatever, right? Tennant saved the leader of Pompeii, the guy from Pompeii. He used his face later. Then Capaldi goes and with that same arrogance, well, I can save whoever I want, and he saved me. And then we saw the consequences through the me arc and those set of stories, which were brilliant as well. Capaldi, most arrogant because he actually went on a character arc to fix it, and he's the best Doctor.
Farsight, Tennant was the most arrogant. He got someone killed with his botched attempt to change history. Well, there we go. Now, Sean?
I personally think because I'm the contrarian this evening, it seems. That actually, I think it's the 11th. I think that arc where, and you've just got to look at River's speech, and I wish I could read it all out, but we don't have the time. Where she says to the Doctor, when you started all those years ago, sailing off at the universe, did you ever think you'd become this? The man who can turn an army around. The main mention of his name, Doctor, the word for healer and wise man, and all that about, look what's happened. Look what's happened now. Your friend, a baby's been taken. And I think there was a few moments where, although he wasn't as arrogant as often, it was very few and far between when he was. I think he could do that chilling, cold alien part brilliantly. I just loved. I would say it was 11, to be fair.
Right, well, there you go. That's 10% said that one, but you can see 65% thought David Tennant's 10th Doctor was up himself, basically. Now, there's a few other interesting ones. You see, there's an arrogance. Even, for example, I picked this Queen Victoria moment. And they kept saying, let's get a rise out of Queen Victoria. And I know we always have historical jokes in Doctor Who. I'm going to do my Sea Devils special, and he talks about meeting Napoleon and that. But it's just something about their manner, because they're actually taking the pee almost out of Queen Victoria, and so therefore there's a little bit of kind of, we know what happens, and I don't know. There's something about it that it jars with me, and it's the Nuwho writers. Yeah, I mean. Which Doctor grows the most during their run? So this is an interesting one, because I'll tell you the one I know is disaster. The 14th Doctor only has 3 stories, so he doesn't grow at all. Which Doctor grows the most during their run from beginning to end from Nuwho? So that's an interesting one. Who wants to come in first on that one? Sonny?
I got you. The only correct answer, Capaldi, and it's shown through his hair. It started short, it got longer. That's all part of it. That's the visual storytelling, and he was visually a different character. Like, he picked up hobbies. He I don't know. He was a rock star. He was awesome. He changed.
Ryan,
he had to deal with death.
You know what? Sonny just took the words right out of my mouth. Sonny, is somebody adopted you and have you been cloned?
I regenerated. It's a bi-generation.
You know what? I completely agree with Sonny. Capaldi all the way.
Okay, and here we've got the 12th Doctor, Capaldi. There you go, 61% say that one.
I'm just here for diversity reasons tonight, Anna. I'd say it's 9. I know it's a shorter run, but I think it's 9, personally.
Well, you can...
The one season hurt them.
And just to help people out, which Doctor grows the least? And of course, on that one, you can see the 14th Doctor. Then the 13th Doctor. Isn't that interesting? The Jodie Whittaker Doctor is seen as one that doesn't really develop. And we've all said there's no Doctor defining speech. Not her fault, but she didn't actually, did she? She didn't seem to kind of get improve or change. Tom Baker obviously had 7 years to do it. The John Pertwee Doctor changes over his 5 years. It's not always about time. William Hartnell's settled down. I just
no, Jodie just never got moving.
Nah.
She never started, yeah.
So it is an interesting one as a kind of retrospective. And there's the 14th Doctor.
At least the 14th Doctor got more evil. Yeah. At least he got more evil.
Yeah. Now, I just want to finish with one. This last one. Here we go. Not this one. It's jumping around here. Here we go. Which Doctor is the most misunderstood out of Nuwho? So... most fans have just not got them when actually there's a lot there. The Doctor that most people haven't got, and only on repeat do they actually start to understand it. It's clearly not the 10th Doctor, because he's gone downhill. Go on, Ryan, you wanted to say.
Right. That's just sort of another way of saying he's underrated. And yet again, it's Capaldi.
Okay, well, we'll throw in there, and they say Jodie Whittaker.
I told you, those are the chills who are like, well, Jodie was a good doctor. She's quirky and she can act or whatever, but like it's not true and it's not there and it's like it's not in the
Yeah.
subtext. But they'll tell you she's misunderstood. I would say it's 9 because his run was so short. You actually have to think about it and like analyze it and rewatch it if you really want to understand what was going on. But other than, and it's because of the one season, but other than 9th, it's 12th because you still got people like Sean saying the stories weren't good or he's like all these other nonsense.
Sean,
so, no, they were great.
Sean, if you come in and then we'll conclude from there. So where would you go on this one on the misunderstood Doctor?
I mean, yeah, I do agree that it's Capaldi, but for different reasons. I know that's a bit. I do think he's the most misunderstood. I feel they never quite knew what to do with him. They changed too much. I could never get on board. Taking away the series 10, which is awful, in my opinion. The other ones he did, I could never quite get on board because they wanted to make him this really harsh, cold, much more like the classic Doctors. That's what they wanted to do. And then they kind of like, they panicked and then tried to make him all dead cool. And it was like, oh, no, what are you doing? So I never quite got on board with it. But, you know, I do want to go back because I do want to see what other people are seeing, but I just might never see it.
Yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, some of the questions I edited some of them because they were so strange and I didn't think relevant to what Doctor Who really has been about. So, for example, this one: which Doctor is the most often mischaracterized by fandom? Well, fandom is divided, so to kind of second guess fandom is a funny one. But of course, you think, well, okay, then where they're going on the defense here, and they can, as Sonny has laughed about it, it's Jodie Whittaker again. We just don't get her. This is the point. And so you've got all these defenders of the 13th Doctor. And yet, the survey also said she's the one that doesn't develop the most. That's maybe why we don't like that Doctor, because it didn't develop.
That's what we're saying. And they know it, but I don't know. I still can't believe there's people who could defend her. Because I'm like, well, what did she do? Like, even Gatwa got some funny moments, and he's not trying to be funny.
Yeah.
But what did she do?
Crazy. Well, that's been a very strange stream regarding time lag, timey-wimey, and all the rest of it. But we got there in the end. Hopefully people got a bit out of it because there was a survey there. And, of course, you've got their opinions on some of the news that I've been doing. There won't be a show tomorrow because unless there's some dramatic news, I'll give you all a break from me tomorrow. And we'll see what happens a little bit later on. I'm obviously getting the Sea Devils vlog ready. The slug report, which is a short news item with a slug. Say more later. So, first of all, Sonny, if you want to give a shout out to your channel.
Oh yes, Sunny Waffles SWP on YouTube. After this, actually, I'll be live streaming. I'm in a shiny war where I will be looking for shiny Pokemon, and I have a debate that we're gonna listen to. A very adult debate. It's a little bit of Doctor Who, but mostly Israel Palestine and religion. So if you want to come by and talk about it, come chop it up.
Ryan, obviously it's not about a channel, but it's about your company, isn't it?
Well, no, I always plug that. Everyone going like Daleks and I. I'm coming back, babe. The Daleks out in full force. So I see Garbage has just posted the link to the website of Titan Studios. If you want 3D print and stuff, go there. If you want to see Dalek madness, go over to Daleks and I. We're filming on a big volume screen on Friday. I'm going to Doc Comic Con next weekend. Go and like it and support it and message and comment and like, subscribe, all the things.
Yeah. And Sean, of course, your podcast, review it yourself.
Excuse me. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. There's no content on YouTube. So yeah, wherever you get your podcast. Film reviews, Titanic stuff. Ryan's gonna come and do some episodes. That's gonna be fun. We've just done an episode on the Titan, the Ocean Gate submersible disaster, reviewing the new Netflix series, which has gone nuts. So go check that out. And I swear a bit in them, so not so much that one. So I get used to that, and I don't get interrupted. So it's just a lot of me talking with my co-host Sarah, or guest. So yeah, enjoy that. If you don't like me,
yeah,
you disagree with me, it's terrible.
No time like Jess, whoever, wherever, once again, thank you to everybody for the therapy session, to the panel, and of course to the chat. And I reciprocate that. And yeah, I agree. And Rose, I will look again later at this. For now, wishing everyone in the chat and the panel night night, sweet dreams. Everybody, nice friendly group. Thank you, everybody. That was a little look at Nuwho.
Something.
See you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.